On this episode of Mom Sipping Sangria,
I call myself an educational strategist because we're just trying to figure it out together.
I'm good. Let's do it.
Hiya, welcome to Mom Sipping Sangria and Happy New Year. I'm Sheila Walsh.
And I'm Anita Reynolds MacArthur, sipping on a boozy red sangria, compliments of Martha Stewart.
That's right. There's nothing Martha can't do, Anita. And we will put this one up on momsippingsangria.com if you'd like to try it. And, there's always, as we say, a lot. Not all the time, Anita, because I don't know if it works across the board, but a lot of the sangria recipes we have up there, you can always opt for the virgin option and cut out the booze and, just mix the other ingredients together.
This one has really interesting ingredients, actually. It's different than what we have seen in the past. It's got like grapefruit, lime, strawberries, and then it, hunkers down with Cointreau and tequila or vodka. And I have to tell you, this one really stood out for me because tequila sort of became my little drink of choice over the holidays. It was tequila on ice.
Oh my God. You amped it up a little.
So when I saw that you picked this, I'm like, ooh, how did you know?
That's so funny. Well, I figure since we're continuing in COVID, that we might need to up the ante a little bit. So Happy New Year, lady. I know we're a couple of weeks into January now, but we both took a bit of time off. And how did your holidays go?
They went well. They were obviously quiet. We did have my sister Adele. She lives on her own, so she was allowed to bubble with the family, and she kind of tossed a coin, and so she ended up bubbling with our family, and it was wonderful. It was, like I said, it was quieter, but it was just one we won't forget. We did a lot of Zooms with family, and, we missed having everybody with us. My dad couldn't come. He's in Montreal, obviously, and Diane, even though she's in the same town as me, we kept everything as separate as we could. So it was quiet, but it was nice. How about you?
Yeah, it was good for us as well. It was quiet. Normally we do a lot of running around, and this year was my turn to host the family. So normally I would have about 30 people in my house. Instead, I had 30 people on a Zoom call, which was kind of fun. And, Mother Walsh lives by herself, so she came and spent Christmas with us for the first time and loved it and says, now we can't get rid of her. She's here every Christmas. Yes, and
so cute.
And she just turned 91. Can you believe
91.
that? Just turned 91. So
she is a super woman.
She really is.
She's a Wonder Woman.
She is a Wonder Woman. I was, we were talking now that, we spend so much more time together. I'm catching up on a lot of, a lot of history that is slowly, going away when, these people are moving to the great beyond, this World War II and rationing and all sorts of stuff that it's like a history book, a walking history book right now. So I love hearing these other stories. And then, as you know, you're sounding a little bit different because over Christmas we got some new tech and we were trying to figure it out and kind of blew up in our face this morning. So we're doing a phone call instead of one of the platforms that you and I normally talk on, but we will get that fixed. Luckily,
welcome to 2021.
Yeah, tech, fun.
Actually, I just wanted to backtrack a little bit and mention something that happened to us over Christmas.
Yeah.
So there's two things. So one of them, my sister Diane and her husband Bill and their daughter Ella surprised us on Christmas Day. They cooked up a storm because we originally were all supposed to get together and it was actually their turn to do the Christmas dinner. So they had already bought everything when we went into, basically lockdown at that point. So they cooked everything up and they brought it all. It was like Meals on Wheels. They came to our porch, hand delivered everything from like appetizers, main course, desserts. I was just like blown away. I had tears in my eyes. It was incredible.
How nice is that?
I know.
Oh my
it was so amazing. They're just the best.
That's amazing.
And then one other little thing that was kind of neat that happened, it was the first week of January. Ava and I go walking almost daily, and we're very fortunate. We have actually part of Lake Ontario close to us. And there were loons in the lake, but not just two, not just 100, I stopped counting after 500. They were just all hunkered down. They were all sleeping there. And I guess they were getting ready to, I've done some research now, they're getting ready to fly south. They'll be going down to Mexico as far as I understand it. But it was just such a sight to see.
Wow.
Like usually they say like there's 2 in a lake or whatever, but apparently with the Great Lakes, they congregate there and then they make their way south. So
and they don't have travel restrictions like us, so they can go.
They don't have travel restrictions. However,
wow.
I did, you've got like a gaggle of geese, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, what are loons? So you've got a gaggle of geese.
Yeah.
Terrible names, though. A murder of crows.
Oh, I've heard of that.
And then
yeah.
for the loons, it's an asylum of loons. So I'm like, okay, was it good that we saw them or not?
Well, I guess as much as you love hearing them, if there's 500 of them making that noise, that would drive you to it.
Well, that's it. They can get quite nasty when there's a bunch of them together. So that's where the word lunatic comes from. It comes from the loons and and how they act. They kind of act nutty when they're together. So, but these were very, very silent and just they were just snoozing, actually, prepping for their way south.
Well, that's going to be a long flight, I imagine. That always freaks me out. I mean, again, we'll go back to the fact that now that we're bird ladies since COVID, I'm even more interested in stuff like this. So, Anita, when we started this podcast 22 episodes ago, if you can believe it, do you remember we had Sarah Vermont on, and she was our first guest, and we specifically talked to her because it was about reinvention, and you and I were both in a stage of life at that point where we were looking for different directions to go in, and we had figured out so many people in our circle were in the same way. People just seemed all of a sudden fed up with so many things, and they're looking for, different directions. So she was a great starting point, and, again, fast forward 22 episodes later, and you, my lady, have embraced that and followed your heart and dreams, and now have Reiki with Anita. So just talk a little bit about that.
Yes, well, it's a new year, Sheila, so, it's a new me. I don't know. I had hunkered down, with COVID for so long and really tried to reassess, is this really what I want to keep doing? I love editing, I love writing, but, a lot of that work also dried up as soon as COVID hit. And so I kind of had to, really sit with myself and think. And so after, 2+ decades in educational publishing, I've decided to make a pivot in my career. And so I have been certified as a Reiki practitioner for, well over a decade now. But I've only been practicing on family and very close friends. And so I decided to sort of make that my forefront and make my career in educational publishing sort of take a little bit of a backseat, but my main focus is now Reiki. I'm actually doing my practice out of a wellness studio called Therapeutic Needs, and that's in Pickering. Mm-hmm. But of course now we're in lockdown, so I'm also certified to do distance Reiki. So I've started that up, and I actually was on the other day with someone out of Montreal, and she said the connection was immediate. Those are her words.
Wow.
So, so I'm really, really enjoying that and loving it and sinking everything I have into it. So for people who don't know...
I was just going to say, because it's I've had a Reiki treatment once in my life, and I thought it was really interesting, but I wouldn't know how to explain it. So tell everybody what it does.
Okay, so Reiki is an energy healing modality, and it works to help people heal their pain, be it physical, emotional, psychological, or combination of all three. And what it does is it helps to remove energy blockages in the body so that you've got it runs along your spine. If you have any kind of energy blockages there, it's going to result in, pain of some form for you. So we are all energy, even the plants are, animals are, the environment around us is. So even with distance Reiki, people say, how can that work? Like in person, I get it. There's a little bit of touch here and there, but for distance, how does that work? And it's kind of like the way I equate it to is, when you have a thought about someone in your head, and this happened to me just last week. I was thinking about a coworker I used to work with. I'm like, I wonder what she's up to. And I'm telling you, within 15 minutes, I got a ping, and there she was. And she's like, hey, we haven't connected in a while. How are you doing?
Yeah, that's
and it was
crazy.
A text. And I'm like, how does that happen? Yeah. So it's the same kind. It's a transfer of energy. The energy just, it just goes. And you can make that connection. And it was, very evident with me this weekend when that person said the connection was immediate. So,
and you felt
so
it too on your end. You felt that. Oh, that's so cool.
know immediately because my hands start to tingle as I'm working on a person, whether it's distance or in person. So I know that that the energy transference is happening. I don't get hurt. Nothing happens to me. I'm just a conduit for that person to help them heal. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
I am so proud of you, and congratulations. And I just think
Thank you.
that's such a brave thing to do. Just to kind of grab it by the stones and run.
Well, speaking of stones, I also do crystal healing, so that works with the chakras. Well, putting it out there.
That was a very good segue. Yes. Now, speaking of new paths and next steps, we are starting 2021 out with a woman who has answers to questions about career choices and education options, attached to those choices.
Absolutely, and her name is Jane Kristoffy. She's an educational strategist and the founder of Right Track Educational Services. She is going to tell us about her career and all of the many hats that she wears. She's also a busy working mom and a single parent to a mother of two. Here's our chat with Jane.
Hi, Jane. Welcome to Mom Sipping Sangria, and we're really glad to have you here. Tell us what an educational strategist is and, how you found yourself in this role.
Well, an educational strategist is a guidance counselor on steroids, I guess. I've been an educator for over 25 years. I've had many different roles in the system. I've been a volunteer in my community. I'm a parent of two teenagers. And I started a private consulting business about a decade ago. And I help people find their way. I help students and families get through school and find their strengths and direction and passions. And so I call myself an educational strategist because we're just trying to figure it out together.
There's so many gaps, so obviously this was something that was needed.
Yes, well, I had so many friends and people in my larger network contact me on a regular basis, when I was a new mom, and constantly had people asking me questions about what they should do with their kids. Should they do French immersion? Should they try the gifted program or switch to the private school down the street? And I just saw business opportunities, so I took it. And I haven't looked back. I absolutely love my work. I still have my foot in the public system. I do teach a small handful of days a month, and I love that. I call that my research and development. But it keeps me on the pulse of what's happening in the school system. I get to see what's happening on the inside. I talk to teachers. I talk to administrators. I see what the students are saying and up to. And it's really fun being in schools. I think they're the most exciting places in the world, for sure.
Now, you offer many different services for students from preschool through to grade 12 and even beyond. Yeah. So can you give us an overview of that? And if, in terms of COVID, is that affecting any of your strategies?
Well, I'm able to do everything on Zoom right now. So I'm working as though there hasn't been much of a change. Obviously one-on-one is better in person because you can sense somebody's energy and body language much better. And there's more of a connection that you can make, but certainly I'm able to do my work. I offer support for families at every stage, all the way up until, midway through their first degree in university. And basically, my general focus is helping students through transitions during their educational journey. So transition from elementary to high school to post-secondary, and then even for families who are starting out at the very beginning with their little preschoolers, becoming aware of all of the options that are available. What are the different educational philosophies out there? What is the best fit for a family and for a child's needs? Obviously, for the little ones, you don't really know who they are yet as students, but it's good for parents to learn about what's out there, what their options are, and if something goes wrong or if something's not working, what are some of the pivots they can make? And so these are the types of supports I provide. I fill in gaps where there's information needed, and I hold hands when decisions need to be made. Really, I'm making recommendations. Parents make the decisions in the end because they know their child best. And students get involved in the decision-making as they get older. But, with high school kids, I have a high school blueprint program where I'm helping students prepare for post-secondary, whatever that looks like. So that's career assessments and internships, volunteer work, employment, choosing courses, and even extracurriculars, trying to figure out who they are and what they like, what they're good at, and what doors are open for them after graduation for high school. The same thing goes for transition into high school. I can help students see that there are lots more options than there were when we were going through school. We really only had the school down the street as our option, and now there's a gajillion different choices. Kids can hone in on some of the things that they love and that they're really good at in this day and age. So that's where I come in, and I help parents along, just with any problems. I can take over where they don't want to do some of the dirty work with their kids.
That's great. And you know what? I want to get into that in a second, but I want to just kind of circle back and say, and you're saying there's so many more options than when we were all in school, which is very true. I mean, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
But do you think in some cases that might be a little too overwhelming and there's too many choices, or is it better that we have this out there now?
Well, I think that every student is different. So I think it is better because students have different learning styles. They're going to thrive in different ways if they're in the right fit school or program. So, the general one-size-fits-all that we had back, I was in high school in the 80s, there's way more variety now, which I think benefits kids. But the problem is if people don't know what their options are. If you don't see that, if you've got a child who's struggling in one way or another, and you don't know what the options are, that's where you can get kind of stuck, I think.
And some of those career fairs and university fairs, they just don't cut it because there's so many people there. You don't really get that one-on-one. So that's where you would kind of come in and help.
Correct. Yeah.
So what are some of the things that, parents and guardians need to know about helping their kids thrive and supporting the decision with someone like you guiding them? Like, I know you have this great free fact book. Just point out a couple of things that, we can look for, and conversely, warning signs that maybe we're asking too much from them.
Okay, well, the first thing that I want to really emphasize with parents is that you can make a huge impact on your child's success in school without ever cracking a textbook with them. You don't need to be a teacher or, an expert in a subject area to help your child be successful in chemistry or calculus or French, okay? What you can do as a parent is help them with the learning skills, which are things like time management and organization. So, that first page of the elementary report card that parents see every time the envelope comes home, and in high school, there's a section for all the learning skills. Parents tend to ignore that and not care too much about it. I've experienced this firsthand as a teacher when they want to skip through it during the interviews and so on, even in my private practice as well. They don't understand the significance. Really and truly, it's the most important part, in my opinion, because if you don't have time management skills and organization skills, collaboration, self-regulation, a lot of the executive function stuff, the kids are not going to be able to cope with the complex concepts that come with curriculum that's advanced. And so as content gets more loaded and more complicated, if you don't have the basic skills that parents can easily help implement and support without being teachers, they're not going to be able to get good marks. And so that's what I want to emphasize with parents. Some of the warning signs, if there's a problem, I think when you start to see, on that first page, depending on where people are in the country listening to this, usually the learning skills are marked with things like E's and S's, standing for excellent or satisfactory or good. They tend to be letter scores. If you see problems there, that's a red flag. Fix those up. Talk to the teacher, see what you can do to tidy that up, and maybe change some routines at home and expectations of your kids at home. And then, honestly, the academic success, it will come later.
Makes sense.
You know what? I agree with you like 100% and more if I could. Most especially during this, pandemic time where everything has turned to online learning. A lot of the times, we dip in and out of that, but it is a part of our lives and our children's lives right now. And those learning skills are really being bumped up and pushed to the forefront like never before.
I know that I never was taught that going into school. You kind of have to learn that on your own, and even even the post-secondary students I see, they're not great at time management, and even some of the adults in our circle are. So where can we find the best practices of time management on our own?
Okay, well, I actually have a lot of tips for that in my work. So I offer a program. It's called Study Skills Bootcamp. Study Skills Mastery is for the kids who are at a really high level already of functioning, and they want to take it to the next level. So I work with kids one-on-one with that skill and others. But I do have a book coming out shortly. It's called Launch Your Kid, and in it I zone in on how parents can promote their child's academic and personal skills and success. And one of my topics is learning skills. How can parents help support the development of these skills at home? And my first topic is I delve into time management. I really feel that this is the one skill you can make the most impact on your academic success. In a nutshell, you need 3 tools. You need a big calendar, and you need a weekly template. Big calendar would be for the semester view. The weekly template needs to be updated once a week. I like it Sunday nights. And then there's the daily to-do list. You do it every night before you go to bed, or you could do it in the morning depending on what works for you. You kind of tweak your own style as you get to know yourself and you're working with some of these tools. But I do outline it in my book, which comes out on January 21st.
Well, that's next week. That's great.
Yes, it is. It's very exciting. But certainly time management, so important. And once you've got that, everything falls into place. I would say that teachers are constantly teaching these skills, but they do have sometimes over 30 kids in their class. So some students' needs are greater than others. And so to make sure that everybody's getting everything they need can be a lot. Certainly parents can support it at home, but it is really important, and it is a lifelong skill.
I think also now, in light of COVID, I think that some of the teachers are honing in on these learning skills, are focusing on it, and it's showing up a little bit more in the projects, but that the kids are doing these days. But great work on your website, absolutely, and congratulations on your new book. So, where can people find this book? And you also have a free guide on your website. So, do tell.
So, righttrackeducation.ca is where you find that. The PDF, it has some really easy tips that you can start using today. My book is available globally on the 21st of January. You can grab it on my site. I'm really excited about that. Also, if you have a parent group or a book club, a school group, I'm happy to do book talks and provide offers for larger groups.
Oh, that's so good. And Jane, is there anything else we're missing or we should know about navigating post-secondary?
Well, I think if parents begin getting aware of what needs to be done for post-secondary prep as soon as their kid is in grade 9, then you're in good shape. A lot of students will leave it to the beginning of grade 12 and they think, I didn't realize that I needed, this prerequisite course, or I didn't realize I needed to share my resume with this university or college for the program that is, my dream program. I think if parents and kids get aware as early as grade 9 about what's coming up, what's down the pipe, it's not adding any pressure by getting aware early about how you can use your summers to build your story, to build your skills, to figure out who you are and what you like, what you're good at, maybe even take a credit in the summer to get ahead. The sooner you get aware, the more confident you're going to be with your decision making, the more prepared you'll be, and the less stressed you'll be. So in fact, I'm not adding more stress to the table, I'm taking it off by saying get aware. And so one of the programs I offer, I have a colleague, Glenda Healy, and myself, we do workshops every spring and fall. We've got tours virtual right now, but in person usually. And we talk to parents about the post-secondary planning process. And the pathways can include university, college, or skills, or workplace, or military, or gap year. And Glenda talks about funding. I talk about planning. And what we're doing is we're supplementing what guidance counselors are already sharing with their students at schools, but we're making sure that the parents are in on it. And we don't want to, encourage helicopter parenting where parents take over, but we just feel that there's more comfort and so on at home with the family if everyone knows what's happening and there's no surprises coming up.
You're doing, Jane, is extremely valuable. So
thank you.
Kudos to you. So now your website is righttrackeducation.ca.
Yes, and I also am building a library of interviews on YouTube. My name's Jane Kristoffy at the moment, but I've got a series called On the Right Track Career Stories. And in this interview series, I'm talking to people who are thriving, successful individuals who've done incredible stuff, and I'm asking them about what they do. Why are they in the area that they've picked for their career? What does a week look like in their life? What does a day look like? What does it take to become a person in the spot that they've achieved? What skills do they recommend for young people to develop if they want to follow in footsteps? And what would they tell their younger self? So I've got people from all walks of life, and it's early days for this interview series. So my text and so on leaves a little bit to be desired. It's only getting better every time I do it, but I do feel that the content is extremely valuable for students. I'm answering to some of the concerns I have from students. They just don't know what they want to do. They think they want to go into law or journalism or engineering, but they don't really know what that means. And so how do they get there? When they do get there, what's their life going to look like? How much money will they make? What's their lifestyle going to be? And so these are the conversations I'm having with interesting people.
Oh my gosh, that's such a great idea. And it's almost like a job shouting, which of course right now during COVID we can't do, but you're able to do it in a different way, and you've found a solution.
Yeah.
That is so important. What a great idea. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And good luck with that for sure.
Oh, it's so fun.
Cool. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Jane, and thank you. And this is a great service you're offering. On behalf of Anita and I, stay safe and well and keep on doing what you're doing, lady.
Thank you so much for having me today. It's been great talking to you.
Great.
Take care.
It is time to raise a glass or take a pass. So we're going to start by raising a glass to Miss Jane, and we're going to cheer other people or something great, or we're going to toss a sangria over their head. So this time, Miss Anita, are you raising a glass or taking a pass?
I'm going to raise a glass, and then I'm going to toss a glass as well.
Okay.
So I'm going to raise a glass to babies and moms of babies, most especially during this COVID time. I think that it is incredible how new moms, pregnant, going through COVID, having their babies, having newborns, getting them back out into stores and things like this, and everybody's masked up, and I just think it's amazing what new moms are doing these days. So, and one of the reasons that came up is I was standing in line, and there was this mom, and she was wearing her mask, and she had the baby, and baby was about 4 months old, so she was holding the baby on her hip, and baby was looking backwards, and baby, of course, didn't have a mask on, and so I smiled at this baby because it was just so cute, and the baby smiled back.
Aww.
But Sheila, I was wearing a mask, so I realize now babies actually look at your eyes and know when you're smiling. They're not looking at your mouth. So I learned something there. So I'm raising a class to babies and to new moms, and I'm going to toss my glass at myself. This goes back actually about 6 months, and I had bought, those hand towel racks, you put them in the bathroom if they're not like hung up on a wall.
Yep.
So mine sits on the counter. And so I bought a new one and stuck it down there. Every time you touch the towel, this silly thing would rattle, and it was driving me crazy. It was just like wonky, right? Of course, I'd already taken all the wrapping off, so I couldn't return it. I'm like, we'll just live with it. So by Christmas, this is like 6 months later, I couldn't take it anymore. And I picked it up, and I was ready to chuck it into the garbage. And as I'm walking it down the stairs, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I flip it upside down. No more rattle. No more buckling back and forth. I had it upside down the entire time. I'm so anal. When I learn something one way, it's very difficult for me to learn it another way or to just think outside of the box. But of course, none of my family did either.
Yeah, well, that's it. At least you took the initiative and tried to hang it.
And so how about yourself, Sheila?
Well,
raising a glass or taking a pass?
A couple of things I want to raise a glass to. Explore.org. That is a website that has live cameras around the world you can tune into. So I can't remember how I came across it, but I wanted to see the Northern Lights, and this came up. But they have like live cams outside of owl nests and live cams in the jungle, and you just literally can turn it on. You might see something, you might not, but it's a really cool thing. So that's called Explore.org. org, raising a glass to something called Curbside Concerts. My brother-in-law, Dave, hired one of the artists. There's a lot of struggling musicians out there who are out of work and performers. So this is a great organization that employs these out-of-work, wonderful performers. And he hired a gal, and she'll come to your house, set up a little concert. You can have, a socially distanced outdoor curbside concert. And she played for an hour, and she was amazing. And then two other things. If you're looking for interaction and fun with somebody in your house, or if, you just want to get together with a bunch of different people, a couple of online games that we've discovered. One's called Codename, and one's called Among Us. And they're easy to learn, and they're fun, and you can play with people all around the world if you want. So really good things. So those are just things to keep you busy during COVID, making lemonades out of lemons right there. So those were...
Now, these online games, are they predominantly for adults? Are they are they whole family?
Whole family, and pass some time, but still stay connected kind of thing.
Awesome. So in addition to these things or people that we've toasted or toasted, we have a few favorite things on our website, which we raise a glass to each episode. We would love to share those with you. You can find them on our Faith Finds page on our website, momssippingsangria.com. Sheila, what's your Faith Find this time?
I am going to post up something that will revolutionize your life. If you're struggling with some,
Thank you, Sheila. Just what I needed.
I felt like I was going into an infomercial there. Hey, do you want to revolutionize your life? Seriously, though, if you have like any kind of aches or pains in your, a wrist or a knee or some kind of injury, or you just need some support, as opposed to using one of those, a brace.
A tensor bandage.
Yeah, something like that. So I've got something that was recommended to me by my massage therapist that literally changed something I had struggled with for 2 years. So we're going to put that up there to see if maybe, that might help you if you have an issue like that. What about you, Miss Anita?
So mine it's a moisturizing toner. Usually toners suck any kind of everything out of your skin, and it leaves it dry. But this is actually moisturizing, and I needed that most especially. I have very dry skin to begin with, but because of the rosacea that I'm always trying to control, this moisturizing toner is so gentle, but yeah, it cleans your face like crazy, but at the same time, it moisturizes it. It's really interesting. So I love this product, and it's easily available, so I'll be posting that up.
Cool. Well, cheers to all those people, places, and things. And of course, we raise a glass to you as well. Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, we've come to the part of the show which we call the Sangria Chronicles, featuring good news stories, only because who wants to sip and cry? Not I. You're supposed to chime in there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry. I'm already looking at my thing like, where am I going to screw up? That's my problem. Sorry.
Oh, you did it. You screwed it. Fine, I'll just stay solo this time. We'll just wait. So, Anita, let's put those rosé colored glasses on and focus on the good news only for a moment, shall we? What have you got for us?
So this good news story comes to us from Massachusetts, and it's about an electrician who went to repair a neighbor's home, an elderly woman who lives in this home. And when he got there, the place was very, very dark. And he thought, okay, well, I'm just going to start in the kitchen, and I'm going to, fix the light switch that's in there. And when he did, and he turned the light on, he looked around. This place was a complete shambles. There was things, that were definitely not working in the home. Things were falling apart. She had leaky ceilings, like all kinds of stuff. It was just overwhelming for him. And he went home that weekend, and he couldn't get it out of his head. Her name is Gloria, and he started a group called Gloria's Gladiators. And so all kinds of repairmen from all over the town came out, and they fixed up her house for free. All of the lumber and everything was donated, and they fixed it up, and she's, ever so grateful for the rest of her days. And he just feels so good having done that. So he's hoping that kind of momentum will catch on in other communities.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a
so
sweet
I'll post that story. His name is John Kinney, and he's 37, and I think he's just fantastic for having taken that initiative. So we'll post that on our website.
What a nice story. That makes us all feel so good. So remember, if you have a good news story to share, or you would like to cheer someone you know who did something that made you or others happy, we would love to hear about it and share it. You can send it in via our website, momssippingsangria.com.
Let's spill the sangria. Any juicy or funny stories that you want to spill over sangria, Sheila?
Well, you and I were actually, yes, is the answer. let's answer and then move into the story. Yes. You and I were actually talking about this a little while ago, and you started to giggle, and I thought, oh, you know what? That is kind of a funny story. I never really thought of it on a macro level. So here I will share. So I can't remember which one of my 3 kids it was. Probably Miles, the oldest. Prior to his birth, I used to do a lot of voice work and then had the baby, but the work that I was voicing still needed to be voiced. And I didn't have, a nanny or, a mom who could actually take care of the baby. So I would bring the babies with me wherever I had to do something and hope for the best. And this was really early on after, the baby was born. So I was still nursing, probably maybe even a month, 6 weeks old. Brought Miles into this studio where I used to voice a golf show. It was very much a manly environment and, lots of sports, all these guys, very male dominated. So then I come to voice my golf thing with my little baby and baby starts to make a fuss. So, grab baby, go into the little booth, which is all glass, and start nursing him and start voicing at the same time. Well, if that guy who was recording me could have squirmed anymore, he would have been a worm going down into a hole. It was so funny. And, I wasn't doing, when you're nursing your baby, you're feeding your baby, you're not thinking, I was always very, very private and covered, but still, it was funny to see somebody so uncomfortable. And then I realized, I guess this really is a very foreign thing in this, first of all, in the studio, second of all, in this sports studio, and where there's no other women. They probably have never seen this before. So they're doing everything possible to, square them away. So that's my story. It was very funny.
Oh, man.
No harm done.
No harm done. Well, you think there was no harm done. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, I think our generation was probably the first to sort of test those waters. Now it's much more acceptable, I think. It's still some people are squirmy about it, which they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But I went through a similar situation when I, with Campbell. I remember it was Campbell, specifically because of the looks I was getting when I took him into the office and we had a meeting, and I was on mat leave and they called me in, right? It's like, well, you know what, baby's coming with me then. I don't have parents that are able to watch him, while I come to this meeting.
Exactly.
So that's what happened. But yeah, it was the same kind of thing. It was just like, what is happening? And I'm like, I'm just trying to keep this baby quiet while you guys keep talking.
Exactly, right? Move over. This is happening and accept it. Yeah. Anyway, it is funny, and I'm glad to see it as becoming more and more acceptable. And I feel when you think about the folks in the States, they get 6 weeks mat leave. We get a year. So it's 6 weeks. I think that would be so challenging. So
I can't even imagine. Even properly healed, never mind,
exactly.
Your mental state. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, wouldn't that be kind of nice if you're forced to go back that, baby's coming with you and it is what it is. Too bad, so sad. So, and that is the end of episode 1 of 2021. We want to thank you very much for letting us hang out with you. We hope you're staying well and healthy. And remember, past episodes, fave finds, sangria recipes, and other great stuff can be found on our website, momsippingsangria.com. So before we sign off, we will leave you to sip on this question. I'm going to ask Anita, you first. Okay.
I'm ready.
What is a habit that you can't break due to superstition, Anita?
Oh, I will not. Okay, there's 2 of them. And my kids just roll their eyes. But one is, will not open an umbrella in the house. Okay. And the other superstition is when you have a new pair of shoes, even if it's in a box, you do not put it on the table.
Really?
You can put a dirty pair of shoes on the table.
What?
But my mom always said, never put a new pair of shoes on the table. It's bad luck. And from that, forever, I will never put a new pair of shoes on a table.
I've never even heard that one. Now I'm going to be all paranoid about that. Very interesting. And what about you? What is a habit you can't break due to superstition? Give that a thought and a sip on your sangria.
Shivering your sangria. The tequila talking, Sheila.
I think it's time to go, Anita. Okay. That's it for now. Till next time, have a good one.
Have a good one. And don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
We are Mom Sipping Sangria. All right.
Woo!
I have no idea how to stop this. Just a second. We're just doing, was everything fine? Your glasses?
Are they on your head?
Are they on your head?
Mom Sipping Sangria is produced by Elm Podcasting.